Senator, a lot of our folks are in Senate rules and that mass group. Very entertaining, though, at the very first, you know.
He did call for all of us to have ongoing committee meetings to come forward. That's how
He did. Oh, he did. Oh, good. Okay. Great. Well, that doing it my way. That was a pretty good thing for a song, wasn't it? I just, yeah, it was a great choice. But I was wondering what he would do. You know, I was wondering what his kickoff would be. Now, what would be your song? Oh, it wouldn't be George Strait or anything. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and call this meeting.
Real short. Okay, real short list here.
Real short list. So call this meeting of transportation to order. Glad y'all are here. You know, people come in from all different places due to rules in the Senate, and we sure appreciate the Senate listening to our bills today. I would say a quick prayer, if you don't mind. Let's all bow our heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for blessing us with another day and giving us the opportunity to do good things, right things, and help one another and be kind to one another. You know, as we've all said, we lift up Ukraine and all their people in your prayers and protection. And please keep us kind to one another in the next 3 or 4 days. We appreciate it. And bless our work in your name. Amen. You know, I'll start real quick with Senator Avatarde. He's got Senate Resolution 565. And Senator, if you go ahead and present your resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was an honor to be here, and it's been an honor to partner with you on some work this year and look forward to the years ahead. Senate Resolution 565 is a resolution that will designate several state routes in communities in Northwest Georgia, West Georgia, as the Northwest Georgia Logistics Corridor. This corridor idea may be not unfamiliar, especially to folks in Southeast Georgia. I'll be honest, I ripped this idea off of Leader Burns and Ron Stevens in terms of the technology corridor and things they did. So never say that the Senate doesn't borrow ideas from the House from time to time. But our concern in West Georgia and why we're doing this is historically, when we look at supply chain and freight logistics in West Georgia, or if we were to look today actively at the freight map, most of West Georgia in the 20 corridor from Douglas County west, US Highway 27, basically from Heard County to Chattanooga, State Routes 101, and also US Highways 278 from the Cobb County line to the state line in Alabama are becoming to be high traffic freight corridors. There are gaps in some of these corridors, and I'm actively working with the State Department, with Janine Miller and the commissioner, to address those. Most people, I'll give you a quick example, may not know this, and maybe Representative Seaboss may be familiar with this, with the amount of freight that runs through Cobb County and other places. But that freight corridor stops at the Cobb County line. And so we believe in the interest that we're hearing throughout our part of the region, and having a discussion, how do we move freight and product and supply chain capacity is put in places like Rockmart and Cedartown and Bremen, bringing Bremen back to life, Buchanan, the city of Dallas, is to build these corridors. And the unique part, kind of copying what Representative Stevens did many years ago, is having a core foundation with, I know, universities and technical colleges. And so the University of West Georgia, their president and leadership, has agreed to partner with this corridor to make this a reality in terms of the analytics, the economic analytics, the data, and as they also over time create and develop a logistics center on the campus of the University of West Georgia that they're in the process of doing. So the communities involved, just so for the record, it's clear. And when I say communities, this is the counties and encompassing of the cities. And we have talked to the counties and city, not so many of the cities, but the counties and the economic developers. All of the senators and several of the House members that represent some of these communities are aware of this discussion. but Carroll County, Chattooga County, Douglas County, Floyd County, Harrelson, Hurd, Paulding, Polk, and Walker County. I represent Paulding, Polk, and Harrelson County, just to be transparent. And as we talked about, the three counties I represent and the expansion of the infrastructure that are in some of these counties and how we can work together. And I know some people get afraid sometimes of using the word region, but as a region in West Georgia, it's been many years since we've really had kind of an economic presence, as we've, looked to bring, jobs, infrastructure, and other things. But unless our counties, especially many of these rural counties, are working together, I don't know how we're going to create the energy. I think from a job production, a job creation standpoint, an investment standpoint. We also find ourselves in a unique position in a triangle. If I were to outline from the Atlanta, Birmingham, and Chattanooga, I know Chattanooga has developed their supply chain and logistics hub, which I know Georgia Tech has been involved in over the last few years. And we also think there's untapped potential with Interstate 59 that runs through Northwest Georgia and Northeast Alabama, and connecting corridors that basically connects Rome and Cedartown and those Northwest Georgia communities that I know Senator Huffstetler and Mullis and other representatives represent in the community. So that's the purpose of this resolution, is to basically send the message that we're serious and that the partners involved. Hopefully, if this resolution passes the General Assembly, we will start having those discussions being led in the involvement of University of West Georgia, the technical colleges, and economic developers in that part of the state. So I will turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman, if there's any questions.
Just one, Senator,
Yes, sir.
the biggest issues is that infrastructure surrounding the surface roads in that area and the interstate, the ones you're concerned about.
Yes, sir. There is some. I mean, I think if we looked big picture, I think there's a constant concern. And I won't get into too many of the details, but I think there's a constant concern of infrastructure in the 20 corridor because of the sheer amount of just traffic and freight, basically from Fulton County to Alabama, that's coming in. We're seeing a significant increase in truck traffic on Interstate 20. And so I know as through our joint commission, as we've been studying, kind of what is the funding solutions for the future, truck parking, other things along the Waco exit, the Bremen exit in Tallapoosa, being right there on the state line is I don't want to say it's becoming a hazard, but we're finding ourselves overwhelmed to where these trucks can park aside from just the interstate. And I know our Harrelson County Sheriff's Office is also looking at safety and security measures for the traffic coming in and out, but also those that go to the visitor station center and others along Interstate 20 for when incidents happen. So there are a lot of, I guess, other circumstances that are being created in these local communities, but these local communities, are willing to start working together. And I know myself and Representative Tyler Paul Smith and others have had to bring some leaders together, have some hard conversations about, being partners and working towards the future. But in short, yes, those are concerns. But we also want to be sensitive to our friends from the railroad and others that have significant infrastructure assets in those areas, and how do we partner with them for the long term?
Representative Seaball, he mentioned your name. You have anything to add to it? There you go.
Thank you, Jason. Does the rail, do they have, there's no transfer station in that corridor, is there, other than Austell?
No, just the one that you and Representative Anowitz has in Cobb County, basically there in Austell.
Yeah.
So there's no discussions at all. And I know Chairman Jaspers, he probably knows better than me. There's no discussions, and I don't know that it would necessarily be appropriate at this juncture based on, I think, the state plans for any other inland ports, I think kind of west of there, because obviously you have certain critical mass with a certain number of inland ports across the state. You get to too many, then, they're not really, there's not a real great ROI, I think, based on what I've heard from our friends across the state that live in the transportation world, whether it's the railroad or DOT or others. So, but just the sheer amount of product we're seeing moved from basically kind of West Cobb, Southwest Cobb, Douglas County to Alabama into Atlanta. And how are we capturing that and thinking more broadly beyond? And I've had this conversation with even some of the county commissioners in Douglas County and some of the business leaders, that how do they even move beyond just having data centers and other things that I think they've seen pop up, which I'll be honest, I don't know that data centers are long-term economic development solutions. I think capturing these products that are coming into our state and figuring out, how do you foster new growth and jobs, or even sub companies that create the investment in those local communities. And I'm also sensitive too for the towns like downtown Douglasville, Villa Rica, Bremen, Buchanan, even our own city of Dallas, the revitalization efforts to bring these cities back to life, and becoming more, over time, the next 20, 30 years, revitalizing and becoming population centers as we see that new growth happening. But we see the supply chain discussion right now because of everything going on in the world. The timing could not be right for West Georgia and Northwest Georgia to, I think, take a serious examination for this. And I think over time, for the cities and counties, I think this resolution will open the door for hopefully state and federal grants and other things that locals can match to make some of these things happen. So we know I represent a bedroom community, and I know you and the other representative know that. And I think unless we're thinking outside the box, I don't know how we're going to get industry to Paulding County, Georgia, and some of these other communities. So we think this is, one tool in the toolkit to help us do that.
I think it's a great idea, and I know that those counties need some of that economic development. And I'd be interested to see if the railroad has any. 'Cause it would make sense to get, if you come from the port on rail all the way to West Georgia, and then you go west from there, you don't
Right.
come back. I think that'd take a lot of trucks off the road too. But,
Yeah, and we've had a great partnership with the railroad. I know Norfolk Southern has visited my communities many times when there's been issues. I know we're one of the busiest lines in the state. And so where we see these intersections and opportunities, especially in like downtown Bremen, where, in terms of the grade crossings, to help maybe find ways to help trains move faster through some of these communities. But in communities like Bremen, where we have high schools and middle schools, and the rail system's running right through it, how do we create that balance? Because at the end of the day, if we don't have industry and jobs and we can't move this product, then that does have a bigger impact on the state. So we're trying to look at this from a holistic view, being mindful of what is concerning the locals.
yeah, I know you put a lot of work in this, and I appreciate that. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Newlowitz.
Thank you. And yes, there is indeed a lot of freight that rumbles through my district every day. No, I really was just wondering if I think this seems like a very good thing. I'm hoping that while this is in Cobb County and Austell, if y'all can figure something out to help the black hole that is the Austell FedEx distribution center. I'm probably not the only person in this room who,
Amen. I'm with you.
yeah. Thank you.
That's
I
awesome.
look forward to hearing what the black hole is sometime. You'll have to tell me.
Everything disappears, literally.
Oh, my. Number 8. Mr. Holly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Senator, for bringing it. I'm a little old school. I'm not quite. I'm learning to become a wolf. I'm a West Georgia brave. But I particularly like that. For that region, we see that 20 always gets kind of stacked up as it rolls towards it. I was wondering, for the sake of creating these a beneficial climate for the economic development, how it has these cluster programs with the school, with West Georgia, putting a lot of its focus for this Thomas P. Murphy School of Public Policy.
Mhm.
How much of the university you think or is able to actually be included within this labeling of the economic corridor? It's good enough for state and federal, but I'm trying to gauge the level of participation for those local schools in there.
Yeah, so I think the real opportunity, and what I learned from Southeast Georgia, and we may actually have a better opportunity. And I'm not saying, like, I don't want y'all to take this wrong, that having too many cooks in the kitchen, I think can create problems. Where I think that's probably one lesson learned in Southeast Georgia is you have many universities and schools who are involved. We're in a unique place where we have one university. Some days we'll claim Kennesaw State, depending on what day it is. But truly in the communities in this part of the state, University of West Georgia is that basis. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 technical colleges kind of from basically Tennessee through this corridor. So instead of all of these communities kind of fighting over who's going to apply for the grant, who's going to own all those pieces, the university serving as that central point where I think we all can agree from a collaboration standpoint, and from a healthy political perspective, having them kind of serve as that, kind of core central focus of this, especially from a research perspective, an analytic perspective, an economic perspective, as we gauge or leverage economists, instead of it becoming over time territorial where, if you're in Douglas County or I'm in Floyd County and, maybe our politics don't jive up, it kind of tries to take a lot of that out of it. And basically at the end of the day, we're trying to figure out, okay, what's best for our communities. And I spoke to several months ago to a Douglas crowd at the chamber and got to reconnect with several of the county commissioners. And it was one of the things that, we all had in common, regardless of party or anything else, was, we're concerned about how is that traffic flow on 92 from Hiram, North Paulding into Douglas County to 20. But then you start kind of, cascading that out, the future potential opportunities we're never talking about. All we're talking about is how are we solving tomorrow's problem. And I think this is an opportunity to have kind of a healthy discussion. And this is going to take a very long time. This is not a magic bullet. We're not going to see something fixed tomorrow. But I think this allows us to get a group of stakeholders at a table and say, hey, how are we going to solve this problem and do something very unique? I'm just grateful that we have other state leaders who have tried to tackle this issue before. I think have had a little bit of progress. My goal is always to do it better than the next person if there's a way to do that. But I want to learn from the lessons of our past and then also learn from a lot of the folks who work in the transportation industry across the state. My dad worked in the trucking industry his entire life. He was a mechanic, ran all the rider shops around Atlanta in the 80s and the 90s. So I basically kind of grew up around all of this. So this is something I'm passionate about, but also too, we have a lot of Georgians who want to go to work. And I think the other thing too, when you speak of the schools, where are we making CDL investments into our technical colleges? I'm one of those that agrees. And I think Chairman Jaspers agrees that if we had all the money in the world, we would stand up a CDL site at every single technical college in the state. And I would challenge maybe in one of these state budgets that we actually do that. Something significant, which I know was one of the recommendations of our commission from last year. So all of those kind of conversations get to happen. But I think there's a bigger conversation in the positive impact for Georgia.
I'm with it.
That's my long-winded answer.
Good.
Thank you.
We were making some comment here. Son, they like to talk.
We do.
How do y'all get to a caucus meeting?
We say the same thing about you guys, but it's all right.
I know.
I was kidding.
Okay, thank you for the testimony and questions. What's the will of the committee? Motion to pass and second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Then
Have a happy day 39.
we are, well, is it all right with you if Representative Seaball carries this for you?
That's fine.
I don't know if you'd asked somebody. Have you asked somebody prior?
Well, Representative Gull's been working on it, but.
Oh, well, that's fine. That's fine. We just needed to know. Yeah, we just needed to know. Thank you. Great. Okay. So we got quite a number of people online too, as I said on TV. This moment, I'm going to recognize our subcommittee chairman, Brian Prince. Report on our road naming subcommittee movement a few minutes ago.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few minutes ago, out of the subcommittee, we passed on resolutions. We passed Senate Resolution 596. Senate Resolution 596. Now, again, that is that resolution consists of 22 House resolutions, those that didn't make it over on the first try, as well as 17 Senate resolutions. One of those House resolutions is actually a repeal, where we found out that GDOT did not have purview over that one bridge, but basically what we have is 22 House resolutions and 17 Senate resolutions, and they named dedicating intersections, state routes, and bridges. They all have been through the DOT's certification, as well as the ads have been run, and they're ready to go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if any committee members want to look at the entire bill, our trustee, I won't say that, I had a nickname for it the other day. I will not do it again. I was chastised. Resolution, the entire thing is here. We can look at all of them. And so at this moment, I'd take the will of the committee, the motion do pass. Just ask a second. Thank you all. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
There you go, online. Thank you. The motion passes. Just want to tell you just 1 second before we adjourn. 2 things. How many House resolutions, Chairman, did you say we had?
On this one right here, 22. Actually,
22.
And again, that is,
And-
those are ones that came in a little,
And I
little
want to tell
after the
you what,
curve.
this lady right here, y'all, I mean, the House needs to just stand up and bow. I mean, that would be almost 40 for the year. And Abby Day holds hands, counsels, and in this counsel between us and the Senate too, you know, on little issues that come up and little technical things that do happen. And I just can't say enough about Abby Day and what she does for us in this road naming. You know, when Chairman Prince is going to do the work on the House floor for me this year, and I look forward to hearing you. But we got to make sure we just recognize Abby Day.
Well, thank you for that, this opportunity, but also, yeah, I can't just, I can't even hardly expound on what Abby does, because with me, that representatives coming to me about this, that, and the other, and they can't get it in. I mean, it's always something that we as representatives can't do to get in on time, that Abby and as a chairman made it real simple when they put out a brochure that sort of outlines what you need to do. But of course, I guess we're all busy doing other things as well. So that timeline is very rarely met by most of us. So Abby has to pick up a lot of slack there. But, and again, we do thank you for it.
And I'll tell you, Chairman, having that's really helped. You know, we've been pretty strict on the deadlines this year because I don't know if you know that, you know, our deadline was Wednesday. You know, Jenna, raise your hand over there, Jenna, be quiet. Has to get all this together with Abby's help. I mean, so we're pretty strict on it, and you know, some people suffered, and that's just how it rolls. 26.
I just have one that I thought was approved early on, and you read it off on the House floor, and I can't seem to find it on here. It's
And Chairman, would it be on this one, or would it be? It would not. It is
Okay,
already
okay.
passed. That's the
I
one
knew
that-
my good friend Prince hadn't left me off.
No, I didn't leave. Yours is already, again, these are the ones who came in after
Yeah.
our deadline. So these are the slackers.
Yeah.
You were good.
Well, the Senate's got ours, and they added theirs, and you know, we've got theirs adding ours for the entire session. So, but I sure appreciate it. Just as we close, hope you've gotten to know Andrew. I'll just tell you, by far the best intern I've ever had, and probably the best one in the house. He has been awesome in helping Abby and Lisa Fountain in our office get the job done. And I appreciate you very much. You had a flat tire this morning and still made it in the rain. So we appreciate you. And Lisa, our admins in our office, I appreciate them a lot. Now, one thing I do have, I would want to do a 1 or 2 day, or how much time you think, just on driver's training on CDL. And if you'd like to volunteer for that, I'd like to put together a study committee over time this summer, and especially after primaries and all that, just to look at that and see what we can do. Look at some other states. There's really no movement in the House or the Senate on that issue this year at all. We've got to look at it and try to see if we can find ways within our state, as Jason said, either with TCSG or whoever, to help folks like Sam find drivers and everybody else. And, y'all keep Josh Waller in your prayers. His mom's funeral is Saturday. So, have any questions or comments? Hearing none, meeting adjourned. Thank you.